All right, thank you, Coach. We'll begin right away. First question, front row right.
Hey, Cheryl, how are you?
Hi, Doug.
You coached this game last year. It was a very different feel to it because you're trying to prepare for an Olympic tournament versus the fun of All-Star you've done many times as well. Just talk about the difference in the importance of this game versus last year where you were a different goal in mind.
I mean, it's my son asked me the same thing. I said, it's going to be very different this time. He said, what do you mean? So I told him, a little more loose and have fun element to it. It's not that they're not trying to have fun on the game that they play the national team, but there's just a whole lot more at stake there. The ones that are not on the national team are, maybe people that want to be on the national team, and so motivation, and the ones that are on the national team are like, oh great, this is a fun game for us. So it's always a challenge. For as long as I was a part of USAB, that was always a challenge. But also, for us, it was good prep. I think the practice we had after the All-Star game last year was all defense. Because we didn't play any. We gave up over 100 points. So we sort of hit reset on our defense. But this game will be, filled with, it's really obviously very player-centric. And you just wanted to have fun and enjoy the experience. And obviously it's for the fans. So it's a fun weekend.
Coach, staying in the front row right.
Hey, Cheryl. I know you can't talk about the CBA, but given your... I know, but given the time you spent in this league...
Jamin, Kathy.
I just want to know what
Didn't this happen to Becky one year? You guys did this, and she got walloped with a big fine?
Listen, I think you can answer this question.
Okay, all right, I'll let you go. Sorry, Annie.
You can. How have you seen the players' involvement in these negotiations evolve? Their just aggressive approach, and what change have you seen from the players regarding the CBA? Yeah,
and I've been in the league a long time, and I think the time that we're in right now is it's a natural evolution of a professional sports league. The league has been around for so long, so these young players are growing up at a different time, and they're understanding their worth in ways that we couldn't early on, that we might have believed in ourselves, but we didn't have what there exists today, which there's, obviously the growth in the game. As we knew would happen, you continue to invest, and so here we are. And so I think the players, quite simply understand their worth. And they're experienced enough. Someone like Nick has been around a long time. She's been a part of negotiations, and she understood maybe where they fell short before, maybe not necessarily where they weren't valuing themselves, but maybe a different emphasis. And so where it's now, there's just so much more at stake financially, and they're going to work hard to get what they think they're worth.
Coach, next two questions, front row center.
Charles, good to see you.
How you doing? Two questions. One, you got Lindsay Whalen and Rebecca Brunson on your team as coaches this time as opposed to when they played. How fun is that to have them? And secondly, is it still concerning that you don't see Minnesota media covering these events like they do the men's sports?
Yeah. Of course, anytime you have Lindsay Whalen and Rebecca Brunson around, we talk a lot about the All-Star experiences that we had, the year we had 4, and just how much fun that was. And so we do a lot of reminiscing when we're together at these things. And and the Minnesota media, Charles, you've been holding it down for a lot of years. And so, for you to be at these tentpole events and valuing it, you're doing what the media should be doing. And they should be here. And so thank you to you for making the investment and being here.
Coach, staying in the front row.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Howard.
The thing you just spoke about is having these all-star experiences, but there's some fundamental differences, and sort of two parts to this. One, there's so much more branding and surrounding events, and it's night and day. I was reminiscing with someone about 2015 where there's nothing other than the game itself, and I'm just wondering what you've seen and how that changes your own experience, and then just for you personally, how do you go and make sure that it doesn't all fly in a blur and you can enjoy it and remember it?
Yeah, well, that part's going to be hard for sure. For the players, probably more than the coaches. They're pulled in so many different directions, but in the best of ways. As you mentioned, I've been I mean, 2002 was my first All-Star game in Washington, D.C. It was an incredible experience, but I think in terms of, just how far we've come and the branding and the marketing and the sponsorships and the activations and all those things as a league, significantly better. And then certainly for opportunities for players, even players that are not playing in the game. So we're finding amazing ways to monetize, their brand, and it's a great space that we're in, and it's very different than what it was even 4 or 5 years ago.
Coach, second row to your right.
Hi, Ben.
Just what do you remember about the 2003 off season, which was when the CBA got signed late into April and camps opened just a few days later? Like, what challenges were presented then? What do you remember about those dynamics? And
What year did you say? I'm sorry.
The 03.
Okay. The off season of 03?
Yeah, like leading into, that contract gets signed in late April.
Yeah.
And camp started a few days later and the season a month after. Just what do you remember about that time and that kind of stoppage? Yeah.
Yeah, that's going way, way back into that memory bank. What I remember, for me personally, unfortunately, I was in a space of change in terms of the Cleveland Rockers. I thought you were going to ask me a Rockers question. So I don't remember much about that. I understand the question and sort of what lies ahead, but I really don't remember much about that. Sorry.
Coach, all the way to the right in row one.
Hi, Cheryl. I'm Maddie Kenny with the New York Post. Officiating has been like a hot button issue, and obviously I don't want to get you fined. Yeah, believe it or not. But the biggest thing, Kelsey Plum was kind of talking about it. It's just the inconsistency of like what might be called in the first doesn't get called in the fourth, or vice versa. How does inconsistency, or maybe even like a lack of accountability on officials, impact the league's like the product and maybe hurt it?
Yeah, I mean, everything I read from Monty is they're doing great. So, I mean, I don't think there's a problem. So, I mean, I think that's the first step, is admitting that maybe that you have some leverage. So all of us in our lives, right? So admitting you have a problem is the first step to making improvements. And so I think until that happens, we're going to see challenges. And so I think consistency-wise, I mean, that's what everyone asks for. They believe that they are being consistent. And some of the conversations I've had in games with officials, I mean, it's alarming. And it's just is what it is. And we go into every game sort of going, we certainly don't want this to come down to officiating. And that's your goal every time you play, because you don't know what's going to happen. And, that's probably in every sport. And I don't know that the WNBA is any different. I've never heard any sport that says their officials are amazing and they get it right, more than wrong. So that's also the nature. And I think Monty, when he talks about it, that's the lens he looks through. But I also think that you can't have a lack of self-awareness for maybe that there's some things that need to be fixed. And, getting the talent, I think they work really hard at that. But, it's just like a basketball team. When you don't have enough talent, it's hard to win. So I think that's the same is true for officiating.
Coach, next question, second row center.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, how are you?
We all here work really hard in the media, but I would say that two of the biggest media sensations this All-Star weekend are your players, Courtney and Tisha. Have you been watching Stud Buds, any of their live streaming?
My son asked me to get him on Twitch so he could watch Stud Buds. So only because we're here in All-Star, we went ahead and indulged. I did not watch, but... And I also want to set the record straight. I heard that there was something that went viral that had the appearance of me in it, and it was AI generated. So I told Courtney I was disappointed that she let that happen on her streams.
Why do you think, you work so close with them, why do you think that they are attracting so much attention and really speaking to something that fans have wanted? Like, what is it about the two of them?
Quite simply, they're being themselves. And I think that's attractive. I remember a time in our league that would not have been okay. So I think that's how far we've come. Our product is about the product on the court, but then the stories and the personalities of our players. It's such a fun space to be in. And, Courtney and T are literally, this is how they are all the time. They're being themselves. And people getting a look into that thirst for what's happening and who they are as people, and the people that they're bringing on to the stream. I just think it's really telling, is what we've been saying for years, and what you all have been working on for years, is telling the stories of the players. Well, it's kind of like when we got the Players Tribune, right? The players telling their story. This is, I think, a supersized version of that.
All right, we have time for 3 more questions. Coach, all the way to the left in the third row.
Right.
Hi. So Philly is getting an expansion franchise soon. How meaningful is it for you for the league to be coming to your hometown, and how much growth have you seen in women's basketball in the areas from when you started playing and when you were at LaSalle to now finally getting an expansion franchise?
Yeah, certainly very excited. I was Jersey, Philly. I claim both, the kind of the tri-state area. It was obviously really meaningful to my career and, my growth as a young person and, playing basketball and playing at LaSalle University and then kind of going on from there. When the ABL was there, I remember, was maybe Philly wasn't ready for it at that time. I think more and more cities are ready for women's sports in general. And I'm just excited that, Philly is such a great sports city. The passion that they have and they're putting their weight behind a team, I think is going to be really impactful for the area and for the growth that you're speaking of. Certainly the Dawn Staley's, of the world, Kalia Coppers of the world, those have existed, but I think the WNBA coming to the area is going to do even more in the overall growth of young girls that now, come to the games and dream to be, when you actually can come to the games versus maybe finding it on, way to consume it, not in person. The impact, I see it in Minnesota, the impact of having the team in your area is going to be directly related to the growth of girls playing younger. The talent develops younger. And then the area as a whole, it's already a good area, but as a whole, we're going to see a big jump in its growth.
Coach, next question, all the way to the right, standing.
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
One category of column that I sometimes read about the W is that the W wasn't ready for the explosion of popularity. And I'm never quite sure what it means, but I wanted to ask you if you think that there are ways in which the league has not properly capitalized on the interest or properly protected players from the interest.
Yeah, I think it's more, I don't know if I would point the finger at the league as in the WNBA. I think that the larger picture of the NBA, are franchises that are affiliated with NBA teams, that there's been this long sort of undertone that, yeah, the WNBA is nice and everything, but it'll never become mainstream. I was told that. 10 years ago. And I think that sort of undertone put us in position that maybe when it was time to capitalize, that we missed on some things for sure. And, we're catching up. Some of those same people are going, oh, there's money in it now. And so, that's the nature of, women in business, women in sport, women in politics. It's all the nature of it. And so I think that's what it stems from. I don't think the WNBA and those that have worked tirelessly for years, short-staffed, under-supported, all those things, whether it's the league level, the teams level, those things were real. That absolutely existed. And as a result, we did miss on some things.
Coach, last question will come from the last row all the way to the right.
Oh, right here, Coach.
Hey there.
Just in terms of the league itself, looking at league averages, this is the highest rate of offensive rebounding that we've seen since 2019. I just want to know from your perspective, have you seen more teams actively hunting that out? Do you feel like it's random at all? Just what do you think kind of plays into that?
Personnel. Look at who's coming to the league. Angel Reese is probably where we should start. I think it's personnel. I think it's the talent that's coming to the league. That's what they do. So those things are cyclical. But I think that's where you start with it. I don't think there's been, maybe a team or two. Always had the Dallases of the world that were going to offensive rebound. I don't necessarily think that we have more teams that are emphasizing it. I just think when you have the players that actually do that as a talent, That's what's coming to our league.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have
To our
fun.
media, thank you.
Team Clark, media, open media is